Hey YouTube, this is David. We are back with the orc flying coffin from Puppets War. And I'm trying to get ready for the Bay Area Open, possibly. We'll see how time constraints. I'm not trying to push myself on this. Trying to do a few hours every day. Working at my airbrush booth and getting ready to prime the bombs and accessories. So we got two big bombs. Looks like maybe some converted oil drums to maybe fuel canisters or some kind of toxic thing to dump on your enemy. Then we have two more bombs, two with a rounded head and two with a pointed head on it. So I don't know if I can fit all of them on the bottom of the wing. The wing is not that big. And then I have a hatch for the, whatever you want to call them, goblins or Gretchen gunners. And I think this will be, God, if you can see that light pulling away from it. I think that's going to be the icon on the plane. I'm going to cut some of those out in plastic card and maybe do some iconography on the plane like that, or glyphs. And just give you a quick look at my little setup here. This is the painting part of my studio. It is quite crowded with brushes, and there's my travel and my usable paint brushes and a shitload of extra paint brushes, from junk ones, from ones you throw away right away, to ones that have serve their purpose and are used for something, and I don't know. It's kind of a sickness. And then we got my I guess this is my first paint I got into when I got back into the hobby in 2010. So it's been 4 years back in the hobby, and leaving it probably 1981, 82. I was in junior high and kind of left Dungeons and Dragons and painting miniatures. And obviously I don't use the same paint anymore. Back then I was using Liquitex tubes and Grumbacher brushes. Luckily I had parents that were artistic and knew I was using acrylic paint and bought me, at the time, very high quality acrylic paint to work with. It was thick, but I learned to thin it out. And back then you had that little like couple pages from Al Partha that taught you how to dry brush and do washes. That was about the epitome of doing miniature painting. So I got my wet palette going. There's my, I'm using a couple brushes right now. Oh, laying some heavy dark green on his skin, and then blacking out parts of him that aren't going to be seen. And kind of doing the same. Okay, this is heavy green, not dark green. And these guys, let me get some more light. Sorry about that camera. I'm kind of using it by hand right now. And these guys are heavy green. And I'm going to use, God, I found some recipe years ago from Heavy Metal in a White Dwarf, and how to do orcs and Gretchen and goblins or whatever. And I'm going to go with that. It's tried and true. It looks really, really good. Probably about 4 or 5 different layers of skin on them. Oh, also I did some dark flesh in their mouth, so they'll highlight with the teeth and go in there with some pink and stuff for the tongues. And we'll see how that goes. This really crappy. We can see this. This is a weird skin. It's really deep lines in it. It's almost kind of spooky looking. He's not like the plump, muscular GW orcs. These guys are kind of gaunt and have a lot of striation in them, which might be easy to highlight and give it easier to detail. So you never know. We'll see how we go with that. So I'll be back, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to throw some. Got some Steiner Res on the shaker right there through a 8mm hematite in there. I love those. Those are perfect for mixing paint. And I bought, maybe I'll do got a giant bag right here. I got these, a real good deal. You buy 8, you get the 9th deal free. So like 450 of these for $9 or something like that. And they are man-made hematite, so they don't shatter. And they're not metal, they don't rust or anything, so they're ideal for agitating paint. And you can see I got the paint colors ready for the plane itself. So I'll be back and we'll throw some primer on it, just do a quick little, you've seen it before, but kind of just take you through the process of going through this model. So see you in a second. Thanks. Okay, we are back. Let's see if I can get all this in frame here. Back that up a little bit. Sorry about that. There we go, and let's get that out of the way. That's my, I use a lot of my thinning with this. This is from Mr. Justin. I took a class with him. And I'm going to do some experimenting with this pure vodka. Some cheap vodka, so I don't have to mix anything. So I look forward to a little tutorial on that. So this is 85% distilled water and 15%, 91% alcohol you can pick up in your regular drugstore. I know he recommends 99%, but you have to go to like a chemical store for that. And and this is Stynylrez from Badger. I use mostly Badger airbrushes, and I won this paint year before this one, a Califo, or this primer. I really hated it at first. It's very thick and difficult to work with, and found out it's meant to just jack up your your PSI, Consumer Price Index. No, your pounds per square inch on your airbrush to get it out. Then I talked to Caleb. He thins it out, and also then listening to Chung over on Wargamers Consortium. I met them and hung out with them. I actually know Caleb for a couple years, and I know Chung for 2 years now too. And they talked about just jacking up the pressure on your airbrush, because this stuff is thick. But I thinned it out, and I used the alcohol at like 30% alcohol, or 30%, 70% Stynylrez, and it's working great, because you can see here on my glove. Look at that nice atomization. Just really light. I mean, you can't imagine how light it comes on. And I mean, it's a bear, and I was really trying to walk away from it. But there's no better primer that holds. I mean, once this is on there, I don't think it's going to be easy to strip off in the first place. And it's holds up very much more than Vallejo does. I'm probably getting a little too close, but there we go. And I probably don't need that much primer on it. Just enough to add some tooth, just like what I'm doing right here. There. So we got that. And these, I primed them once white, but then I found, actually this one's not bad. This one's good. Maybe a little bit on this edge. Probably still needs a little cleanup though. Damn. That's another thing. After you prime your models, there's any of those things you miss, they kind of show up again. Like this one, you can see on the very edge in here where I had to go in with a file and clean up around it, and it looks way better. The nose still needs a little bit of work, but we're good on that. We'll leave those white, 'cause I'm not sure what color those are going to be. And then again, with this stuff, is so light and thin. If I change the colors, if I want to go, I was going to do rust on a lot of these and just make them stand out under that gray. But I may go and do some yellows, especially I think some beat up yellow oil drums would be kind of cool. And let's see if I get some more of this primer out that I pre-mixed. You don't need a lot of it. Just grab one of these. This primer is almost the color of the resin, is slightly a shade darker. You see them next to each other. It's a little bit darker now than this dust. This guy. Remember, you just need the dust. You need to add some tooth. That's it. A lot of people, you want to cake the thing with primer. I've done that in the past, especially if I'm doing like a soldier model, and you're doing it from underneath, like zenithal. Really get those blacks, so it just keeps you from having to paint too much. Might need to make some more paint. All right, we're so good. Oh, we're dead. Let's see. We get one more couple drops out of this thing and finish these two bombs. Come on, there we go. Maybe get these finished. This is a little bit, there's a few drops of primer, and I might have to do some hand priming on the bottom of this one. I put it in pretty deep. Nice. So we got all these done. So these are all ready to go. I'm going to clean the brush and be back. And this might be the end of the part. See how many minutes this goes in. Like I've said in the beginning, I'm trying to keep these all under 10, preferably under 6. Just enough to, because I know, like when I see people's videos I like, we have our days to get through, and like I'm not wasting your time right now. But sitting there for 20 minutes, it depends. If you're doing your hobby, that's fine. But if you want to just check out, some of your people you like to check out in that 5 minutes, that just boom, you're done. And if you do that once a day, that's not so bad. But me to hit you with 30 minutes every couple days or something like that's a commitment. I appreciate it if you check it out myself, and I do get views. But I'm trying to get it lighter content and just longer, so I just have more content in the long run, and not wasting everyone's time or taking so much time. Thanks again. All right, we're back real quick. Everything's primed. Like I said, I did a white on them and then had to fix them. So these are all done in gray. I even did the cockpit, and there's the gunner hatch. And I was going to do the wheels, but then I found a bunch of bubbles, so I just fixed those, waiting for those to dry with the Vallejo putty in those. So we'll end this part here, or I don't know if we'll end this part here or not. You'll just see what's going on. I'm going back and forth now. I'm still on the base, because I'm still trying to get some painting done and getting that base ready. That's going to be done in the garage. I do some carving with the Dremel and the rasp attachments. I'll probably do some of that on video to show you what's going on, and then we'll keep going. Thanks for joining me.